We're in business, baby. We got it. Dialed in. Locked in. Yes! Incinerate has been a skill that has eluded me for a really long time in making it feel good. And they always feel terrible. Now this feels about half as good, maybe less than half as good, as the lightning builds utilizing this teleport, fireball, enchant. But I always suffered from DR issues, so I ended up having to drop Tibbs. I might be able to slot that back in. And what the real pickup here was I needed destructive charge bolts, and then I can probably take this off. Destructive Incinerate, Destructive Charge Bolts. I needed Lightning Spears, stunning stuff, and I get that through Unstable Currents through my teleport. So when I pop this, and I teleport, you know, see Lightning Spear just spawned. Charge Bolts come out, so perfect example there. And then I might take Electrocution or something, but we did it. It took me so long to finally get Incinerate to feel good, and now like the damage is somewhat respectable after the buff, so I'm pretty happy with it. Have faith. Thank you, Currymon. an S tier. But let's, alright, so for the boss, let's put back on our Tibalts. See how this boss damage is. That's the best it's ever been. Yeah, so that doesn't... You know, this is Incinerate. I deserve that. It's terrible. This is terrible. We're, well, I guess this is a good representation of it. Yeah. Maybe it might do better when we have the cooldown shrine, but I'm really actually curious what kind of score I can get with this thing. Oh yeah, we're cooking. We're flying. You know, I was farming Gauntlet a lot, you know, trying to get a high score. I ended up around 950 with Ball Lightning. See if I can get it a little higher maybe, but like I just stopped having fun. Cuz like all the shrines, it just doesn't feel that good. So this is I'm actually starting to have a little bit of fun again. Ooh, get juked. But yeah, this is real bad. Oh, alright, so we have to spam click it. This is really slow. So we're not going to actually be able to go back and do that rotation again. We're just simply not going to have time. Alright, let's go for the cooldown shrine. Actually, we're going to go straight for the blast. We're going to do the standard roto. Then we're just going to wing it. Alright, so we're going in for the blast wave shrine, and I am just pressing all the buttons. I need to go back this way actually. Oh, this is just not very fast. That's all I have to say about that. I need this to be set on spam click. God, this is terrible. But I guess whatever gauntlet score we get, that'll tell you how good it is. Exactly how good it is relative to the other builds. Oh, we're cooking, baby. Go for that double points. Guess why not? Oh yeah, we are cruising. This feels great. Getting roasted. So fast. Alright, so I want to get back to the cooldown guy. It's just... You know, if I can get 500,000, I'll be really impressed and happy. Alright, we're gonna go back. Yeah, I really need to set this spam press. He needs to die, and you guys can die. Oh, Kinko. We're actually cooking. I should actually have arcing and breaking on. You know what? No, I can't change anything. Only time we go fast is with the cooldown shrine. And with an artillery. Oh, but you have to spam click it, because obviously... Obviously I'm stuck, man. I feel like a necro. Where's Symphony? We have one more reach that shrine, so we'll try and get another roto. 500k, baby. That's all I want. That's all I want out of you. I tell you what, though, it is really nice going slow, because I'm actually able to kill the elite packs that spawn. This is the little flamethrower that could, man. Look at all these elite packs. Oh, we're gonna run out of time. Alright, let's keep moving. Get a hot reset. It's a shame we don't get any attack speed. Oh, we're almost there, baby. Come on, you can do it. Come on, 500k. Oh, we got it. I'm happy. One more, boss. World record Incinerate. 516,000. Alright. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lurkin from Mobalytics, and I'm coming at you with an Incinerate video. Now, this Incinerate has risen from F tier to about C or D tier, so it's viable now. It felt a lot better in T100s. Um, I had a couple runs in a row where I didn't die, and like typically when I've been filming Incinerate in the past, like those are cherry picked. Those dungeons that if you've seen in any Incinerate video I've had in the past, that is a cherry picked dungeon, and I typically don't do that, but with Incinerate I feel forced to. So let's jump straight into it. My gear's like not good, so I'm not going over it in game. I'm just gonna go over the planner. The link will be there. So we have Incinerate, and then we use unstable currents. Basically, we'll get a shock skill that procs from when we use our teleport, or when we use our evade, because that's also a teleport. And we have Fireball to get more attacks. And then we just have Ice Blades just for the cold damage. We have Ice Armor for a little bit of tankiness. Then we have Teleport for movement and Flame Shield for Flame Shield things. So the biggest thing I want to start talk about with Incinerate is, as you saw in some of the videos, is that it will count as It does work for Starless Skies where spending resources, because before it didn't work for channeling skills, but where it doesn't work is for the attacks reduce evade cooldown. You need, if you're ever in a pinch, so like this build will consist of alternating holding Incinerate and then spam clicking Incinerate when you do want to proc the attacks reduce evade stuff. So that's just something you have to get used to. Like if you get in a little bit of pinch, you just got to click it a bunch and then you'll be able to evade again. So for the build, I do believe we're gonna end up. I'm gonna take off Tibalt's. I shouldn't have this here. You're gonna want You can run Tibalt's if you want, but it does feel really squishy. So you would take armor, uh, damage reduction from burning enemies, and then probably distant. We'll just take DR distant. That's fine. We'll just save that. All right, so let's actually get into it now because the Balts was more damage, but I felt really squishy without Tibs. So just something to consider because like this is not as strong as the shock builds in terms of how fast you kill things, and then some of the DR that you can get. Like I slotted some of that DR in there as you'll see, like the charge bolts DR and stuff. But trust me, like you might want some disobedience pants on here. You're gonna lose out on the 40% to Balt's damage, but it's whatever. But as always, we start with Shaco. If you don't have Shaco, you can just run a disobedience helmet and then try Tibalt's. Um, and then next, my scroll wheel doesn't really work that well. Next we have Raiment. That's for the stuns, close damage. Just works so well with teleport enchant. Then we have some storm swell gloves. Just with we want ranks of incinerate, ranks of fireball, and then int. And I opted to take critical strike chance mainly for the lightning spears, so that they can stun more and they can provide more vulnerable for when they because critical strikes with lightning spear apply vulnerable for 3 seconds. One big thing with incinerate, it doesn't crit attack speed. It doesn't care about attack speed. So we're just anytime it's just such a huge crit roll on the gloves that you do want to take it because it is affecting your shock skills that are coming from your unstable currents. So next we have pants, as I just slotted with disobedience, total armor and triple DR, whatever you can get there. Next is flicker steps. Flicker steps are huge. Just getting your just getting your UC back. I found out that the Vuln was really spotty. Even when I ran Tempest with Arcing Breaking, the Vuln was just so spotty. So what we ended up doing was I opted for Flicker Steps. I originally had Flicker Steps Inferno, and it was like cool, but it just felt kind of useless. And I think I get a lot more value out of the shock skills that come from unstable currents, even if they're only coming from teleport and my evade. So that's fine. Next, we do take Flamescar. If you want to run something like this in PvP, you switch up the enchantments a little bit. But if you're ever running burning builds in PvP, you really want to staff, especially like Incinerate. You would take Conflagration right here. While channeling Incinerate, your burning damage is increased by 20 to 40%. You would take a staff. I got that from Currymon. He's like the resident burning expert in the Sorcerer chat in the Discord, and but I built the staff and I tried it and it just felt really bad for general PvE. It's just the loss of 2 cooldown rows on the focus. Just feels like junk. So we are going to take Flamescar. It's 7 ranks of Incinerate. I think when I had when I had Shaco and I had all the ranks and everything like that, I think my burning damage, the tooltip number, like when I went in the skill tree, I think it went from 150 to 200. So like the 7 ranks is a lot for Incinerate. Like it was no joke. So even though we aren't really utilizing lucky hit damage on here and we're missing int and all stats on here, the ranks was really nice. You could, and then if you don't want Flame Scar, you could just run a normal wand, or you could run a dagger or something like, and then just slap on another damage aspect that you could find. I'll let you figure that out. You can try some stuff, but I'm slotting Flame Scar on here. I've, you know, from farming Duriel, you always end up each season with a god rolled Flame Scar, and I want a reason to run it, so it's in the build. And it's not terrible. 7 ranks to Ensign is pretty good. Next we have Conceited. That's for 25% damage, and we have a barrier. You want cooldown. You want cooldown reduction, intelligence, all stats. I'm really just stacking up. I'm trying to stack up int in all stats, so that I can increase the burning instinct node through the int. So just cooldown, int all stats, and DR from burning. opt to not take crit chance on the focus, because you could take crit chance over all stats. It's a lower roll. It's a 15%. It's either 12 or 15. It's either 12 or 15% on the gloves. So it's a much higher roll, and then it's 7.5 here. So crit chance loses value on stuff like this. Um, so next we have Talrasha and Starless. 45% damage out of this, and then 40% damage out of this, and like you will never run out of mana. Your bar won't even go lower. So like if you don't want Flame Scar, an option is you could take like an Edge Masters, or even Control if you want to mob better, but maybe like an Edge Masters Flames wand or dagger or whatever. If you don't have Starless Skies, just put in an X-Files. It's fine. That'll be good. And then next is our Amulet. We want cooldown. The amulet's like so flexible. Legit, the only thing you need on this amulet is cooldown reduction. And like if you want to be a little faster, you can take movement speed. Like I'm considering taking off DR burning for, let's do that. So let's put movement speed here. Yeah, let's do that. So this is why my builds change a lot. I have thoughts when I go over them. So yeah, you really just want cooldown reduction. You can either take Ranks of the Inner Flames passive, or you could take Glass Cannon if you want, or you could take Endless Pyre. It's really so Inner Flames passive is 9% more damage with your fire skills while you're healthy, and then Endless Pyre is like enemies take 3% more damage per second, and that would be 6% more damage per second with 6 ranks. So like with 3 ranks, it stacks up to 15% more damage. Like the longer that they're burning, but some enemies you kill in like 2-3 seconds, so I don't know if you get the most value out of it. But Endless Pyre would be the most damage for bossing, because after 5 seconds, it's going to ramp up to 30% damage. And then it's really weird, you never take Intelligence on the Amulet, but on burning builds, you end up doing it because you get a lot of value out of Burning Instinct. And let me double check I can't double check the planner. I think the build's around 80% on Burning Instinct, like 70 to 86%. Really, it definitely was like 88% when I had the staff there because of the int and all stats. Like huge roll on the staff, but when I ended up dropping the staff off, the value went down to like 72, 74, something like that. But you're still getting a respectable amount of burning damage out of it, with all things considered. All right, so next for the gems, yeah, you're gonna want the damage over time gem, and then ruby and skull, pretty standard. Let's go over Seneschal construct. Let's see what I did. So Tempest, and then I do have arcing and breaking on here. I really don't actually want that. What I do want, I don't need breaking, or do I? I think because I'm. All right, so this is a little flexible. I'm just going to leave this, but if you're feeling squishy, you can take off arcing and put on safeguard, and that's really the only change that I would recommend. Arcing breaking is okay for the Vuln, and then Evernight is always for 4 ranks, and then Flash of Adrenaline is tactical duration, so that it's 12 seconds perma uptime. Yeah, because you get the damage buff, so this is going to go to 50% over 20 because of Genesis. And then duration, yeah, goes from 8 to 12 seconds for the duration, and then the cooldown's reduced from 20 to 12, so it's always active. All right. So that's the Tempest is a little flexible. You can kind of experiment and see what you like. All right, let's go into skill tree. All right, this looks terrible. So I'm just gonna go down the side, honestly. For whatever reason on my monitor, it always just like I can't see the numbers that well, so we're just gonna go down the side. So we take 2 points in Firebolt just to progress. And then for our core, we are taking Charged Bolts. We want to reach this Destructive Charge Bolts node. That way we get 25% DR when the Charge Bolts from the Unstable Currents hit them. Just 1 rank in Fireball. You can try and put more if you want. I don't know. You would have to figure it out. Mainly, you would put more if you have Shaco. So I built the skill tree to not include Shaco. So you would take out a point in Ice Blades and Ice Armor, and then you could put them in the Fireball to get a little bit more points out of it. It's just 1 point in Fireball for the enchant. And then we have max ranks of Incinerate, and then we have Destructive so that enemies deal less damage to us when we're burning them. Next, we path our way to Elemental Dominance. That way we can get 9% more damage when we're cast above 50% mana. Actually, this doesn't look terrible. I'm going to go through the skill tree like this. So we have 1 point in Flame Shield just to reach up so that it can heal us, and we get a little bit of movement speed. We max out Teleport. We take Enhanced, so that way it reduces its cooldown when it slams on stuff, and then we get 30% DR from Shimmering. Just 1 point in Ice Armor to unlock it. I'm extremely tired of people asking me. I get comments all the time. Sorry, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Where they're like, oh, you have Ice Armor in the planner, but like I don't see it on the skill tree. And it's like, Harlequin Crest Shaco has 4 ranks to all skills on it. Sorry, I just like I've literally answered that question like probably 37 times, and I'm done answering it. Shaco gives 4 ranks, so you can get skills for free. Next, we're gonna take 3 ranks of Glass Cannon, and then 1 rank of Elemental Attunement to try and reset some defensives every now and again. 1 point in Ice Blades, so that people don't bother me about why there's not a point in it. Then we take Lightning Spear. It's gonna create vulnerable when it crits, and it's gonna this one makes it crit more every time it smashes a bunch of stuff, and then invoked for stunning enemies. And then we are taking Mana Shield. Every time you gain 100 mana, you spend. So this one's a little bit of flex. We really aren't. We are spending mana, but like you never run out. You don't. When you're casting Incinerate, you don't spend enough mana to offset like your natural resource gen. So these points are flexible. You could put these somewhere else. I'll let you figure that out. And then we just take the 3 ranks in protection, so we get a pretty fat barrier. Next, we take 3 ranks in Inner Flames. So like if you don't want Mana Shield, you could put the points in Crippling Flames. Even though you're not really going to get any damage out of Immobilize, I mean, it'll stop things from moving. So there's that. That's pretty chill. Next, so yeah, we have 3 ranks in Inner Flames for 9% damage. This will be 18% if you have it on the Amulet. And then lastly, we move down here, and I have scuffed my planner. I have to fix something. I can do this. I don't have unstable currents. All right, so we're going to take 1 point off there. All right, all is saved. All is saved. Let's zoom back in. We're gonna keep going back down. All right, so next we're moving into our fire skills. We just have 1 point in Fiery Surge. It's so that we can move to Soulfire. Pyromancy skills cost 12% less mana, deal 6% increased damage, and then double these bonus after standing still for 2 seconds. So you're gonna get like 12% damage out of this. You do stand still quite a bit. And one thing to note is like, if you want, you can, if you plan on not ever moving and only ever evade teleporting, it's something to note is that inner calm, when you teleport, or you evade, I know when you evade teleport, it doesn't count as you moving because you're not moving your legs. You're just teleporting. So like inner calm and stuff like that, where you get bonus damage from not moving, those stay active. So that's something to consider. Then we have Endless Pyre. As I was rambling about earlier, to increase burning damage to enemies for each second they remain burning, up to 15% after 5 seconds. So Endless Pyre or Inner Flames are options for the amulet. We just have 1 point in Unstable Currents. We don't get anything out of the attack speed, so we don't even take it. And then I ended up taking this 2 points in Electrocution just so that they do 10% less damage to me when I hit them with the shock skills and stuff. And then we're taking Combustion for 20% plus a little and some change damage. Next, we're going to move into, let's just make sure I didn't miss anything else here. No, I got some. So initially I had tried an Incinerate Meteor build. Felt like shit, so here we are. It felt really bad. So I am taking Reinforced on this build for 15% DR with Barrier. Kind of buffs up our non-fizz and our all resist here. I did end up opting for Enchantment Master so that I could get less time on teleport. It is a lot of points to spec to it, but I think it's worth it when you have teleport enchant. I think it's actually somewhat mandatory. We end up pathing up this way, grab some non-fizz, and then we slot Elementalist. We're going to be hitting stuff with Shock. So like you could also too, if you want to get a little bit more out of Elementalist, instead of Ice Blades, you can just take like 1 to 3 points in Frozen Orb, so that you can cast that a little bit and then actually like proc that Mana Shield every now and again from spending mana. So that's just something else to consider. That these builds are open ended. You can kind of fuck around with some of the skills and stuff. So we got Elementals here that buffs our all resist and our non-fizz. Gets a little bonus damage when we hit things with things. We grab a ton of these nodes. So we got a maxed out destruction that gives us a ton of crit. Fortunately, I can't tell you how much burning damage we have, but I think it's around 70 or 80%. We don't have the technology here over at Mobilytics. I can't give you hard numbers. It's something Something technological wise is limiting it that I don't know. Uh, yeah, we we ended up not having enough for another board, but so, we had a bunch of spare points, so I ended up just grabbing like a ton of like DR burning and damage to burning enemies, just trying to fluff it up a little bit. So next we take Pyromaniac. Pyromaniac kind of sucks. Like you get a little fire damage out of here. You will hit this wreck. It's just they don't take Mobalytics doesn't take into account the all stats are int on my gear, etc. So it's a bit annoying. So we take Pyromaniac that buffs up our fire damage, and we get like 10 or 12% Pyromancy skill damage out of it. And then we do grab. We will have this note as well. We do grab this fire damage and crit damage. Crit damage just so we can buff up our like 75% burning instinct, something like that. We take a full. This is going to be 140% non-physical damage, which is just massive. So we take that on Frigid Fate, and then we grab the legendary nodes. So we are going to have 1.3x damage against vulnerable enemies. So that's pretty dope. And then our last board, we're just going to wrap it up with a little exploit. So one thing I do want to note is that I can't change anything, but so we have the exploit. It's just for the 1.1x damage, and it may seem like a no-brainer to take. Okay, I need a new mouse. It may seem like a no-brainer to take Torch. Yeah, I'm buying a new mouse tonight because I can't scroll. So Torch, the issue with Torch is last we checked, it didn't work. This 12.5% X damage, multiplicative damage, was additive, and I have no idea if it's working yet. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not testing it. I don't care that much about the game right now to test it. I'm not apparently Winter. We've known for a while, but Winter, Torch, and Tactician are broken. Verse Mastery, the passive was on there, but they did fix that. But I haven't heard anything about Tactician, Torch, or Winter. And to be honest, I haven't seen Tactician on any of Accruid's builds. So safe to say it's not working still. So that's why I don't take Torch. This would be like a no-brainer thing to take. Uh, get a bunch of burning damage, and then when stuff's burning near you, you get more damage. But Source can't have anything nice, so I think it's broken right now. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is actually what is the issue with Incinerate. And after playing last Epoch, where when you play a mage, you have ways of generating ward, which is you have ways of generating a barrier that like naturally decays. Like as you cast your skills, you generate ward, which is a barrier. But in this game, you have to use cooldowns to get barriers and stuff like that, and like from the passive they only last 3 seconds, and like you can use ice armor, but the issue is that Incinerate, if they want to keep it as a channeled skilled, the main thing they need to do is it needs to passively generate barrier as you sit there like a sitting duck and try and face tank like you're in some game with a 5 second time to kill and you're just face tanking each other. Like either that or it needs to not be a channeled skill anymore. uh, well, with it being a channeled skill, the one thing too is like they need to fix it so that it works with attacks reduce evade. I don't know if every half second it needs to count as an attack or something like that, but or just completely remove it as a channeled skill like altogether and make it like a cast of ice shards, but a fan cast. So that's what I think about Incinerate and like what needs to change with it so that it could be better because like the damage is okay right now. It's just the way that this skill is structured and how it's played feels like shit. You can keep giving Incinerate so much more, like another 10% damage buff, 20% damage buff, but it doesn't change the fact that like the build feels bad. Like it looks really sweet and it is kind of fun to play, but it just feels bad because you're not moving. Any skill where sorcerer is all about movement, and any skill where you're forced to sit still, like it better be worth it. It better generate barrier. It better make me super tanky while I'm sitting there, just like generating a ton of barrier while I'm just face tanking and incinerating things. Or it needs to be a non-channeled skill that you go around and it costs like 30 mana and you shoot out a huge fire, like a huge fire fan wave incinerate and like just going around like actually flamethrowering stuff. So that's what I think about Incinerate, and I think it's always going to be unless it got some crazy like 200% damage buff to where it was just obliterating everything. Then you'd actually be able to move faster more. But like you saw that T100 dungeon, that took like 6 or 7 minutes. Like on Arc Lash and Ball Lightning, I'm getting those in like 2 minutes. Like it's slow. It's slow and it's always going to be slow. And slow isn't good in a game where speed is king. Like look at Gauntlet right now. Or just in an ARPG in general, like speed is always going to be king because the more dungeons you can complete, the more loot that you get, and the more glyph XP. So it's like, why would I play this slow build? Because my flames are blue? But I'll leave it at that with Incinerate. I'm happy with where the build is at, but I have my reservations, and it's just always kind of going to be a little bit of a shit tier skill as long as they have it structured in the way that it is right now. Because Diablo 4 is all about playing builds that feel good. And if any of the devs see this, Incinerate doesn't feel good. Same way Frozen Orb doesn't feel that good because it's clunky. Like, Incinerate ditched it either, ditch the channeling or have it generate barrier or have it be a fan cast like and then you cast it like you would like ice shards. All right, that's it.